Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
I'm Kerry Fink. Welcome to Helping Seniors TV. This is the show that the Helping Seniors of Brevard organization puts together because our mission is to inform, connect, and help seniors find resources that help them complete their aging plan. And so on behalf of our president and founder, Joe Steckler, Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, Karen Wernland, our information specialist, and the whole team that makes Helping Seniors go, I want to welcome you to this edition of Helping Seniors TV. You know, we talk so much about creating an aging plan, which is your roadmap to navigating your senior years. Those of us that live in Florida, we understand a hurricane plan. Doesn't mean you want a hurricane. It just means you want to be prepared and have some idea of what you're going to do if they tell you this is bearing down on you. And that's a lot what an aging plan is designed to accomplish. It's designed to help you think of some of the things that you might run into so that you can stay as safe as possible, as healthy as possible, as financed as possible, just everything you need to navigate your senior years as best as you can. So in the Helping Seniors organization, in addition to operating the county senior information helpline, which last year we took over 5,450 calls about every topic that you might think of, everything from housing, legal, medical, financial, transportation, we've had the calls on them. And because of that, we've learned some of the things that are common questions that seniors run into. And we've also learned a couple of things that has taught us to be aware of, that many times, if we think in advance, we're going to be able to hold off a lot of problems for a long time and certainly meet them head on, even if they become severe. So I think you're going to get a lot out of today's program because we have an expert guest. Her name is Jital Patel. She is the owner of Coastal Occupational Therapy. Welcome, Jital.
Thank you, Kerry, for having me over here. It's an honor.
You know, as we've talked about this, one of the things that is so important is that the number of seniors who find themselves in a position of falling in their senior years, and oftentimes, if you, particularly if you're advanced in age and that breaks a hip or something like that, it can really kind of put you on a fast track to an end of the line. So I know one of the most valuable things that you guys do is you focus in on people's falls or their balance so that they can avoid falls and things like that. But that's really just the start of all the things that you're able to do in occupational therapy. So I want to thank you for being here. And I want us to kind of explore this for a minute, because I remember in my own naivete working with this with my mom. She had gone into rehab and she was at an inpatient place. And they came to you know, oh, you're the son? Yeah. Okay, so we got a program for your mom. She's going to do some physical therapy. She's going to do some occupational therapy. And I interrupted and I said, no, she doesn't need that. She's retired. Yeah, she, you know, and they said, no, let me explain. But let me let you explain, because I think that's probably maybe a question you hear a lot.
We hear that a lot, almost every day, no matter, you know, what setting I'm working in. I've heard that a lot, and it is true. Just the word occupation it's confusing. So when you think of, you know, it's occupational therapy, people will say, well, I'm retired. I don't have an occupation anymore. And the term physical therapy is so widely used, and it's confusing for people, because when they think they need therapy for their physical body, they need physical therapy, and that's it. And I'll be honest, a lot of times when we get the referrals from doctors, it is just physical therapy, and then we'll get a call from the physical therapist that will say, well, you need occupational therapy as well. Can you come in? So that, you know, it is a very confusing term, but occupational therapy was emerged as a confluence between physical medicine and social work. Okay. And so it was kind of founded on the idea that you take your meaningful activities, you want to continue doing your meaningful activities as you age, but you have these physical limitations that happen. How do you go about continuing to do those meaningful activities while having those limitations? So first we address the physical limitations, right? So then we work on rehabbing that shoulder, the back, whatever it may be, and then to get you to do those meaningful activities, because it's found that without engaging the person, if I said, hey, Kerry, let's just, sit there and exercise, it's really not meaningful to you. You're not motivated. But if we found out, hey, you like doing golf, or, maybe it's gardening, and we figure out, well, this back pain is limiting you from doing these things, how do we fix that? And that's motivating. And so we engage you in those occupations, and hence the occupational therapy. We focus on your occupations, from everything that you do from the time you wake up till you go to bed. Everything in between is your occupation. And so occupational therapists help you continue doing those occupations in the safest and the most independent way as possible.
As you're saying that, I was thinking, like, as I was getting educated on this process, they took me into a kitchen that they had set up, and they were trying to show how, in your daily living, you have to be able to reach up, pull open a cabinet door. Maybe you have to operate knobs on a stove. Can you open the refrigerator door? And all of a sudden it started to click, like, okay, now I understand a little bit what they talk about. And this term that you guys in the medical world use, activities of daily living, I realize it has a specific meaning for a lot of reasons, but I kind of understood that was the point of taking mom into the kitchen, because they wanted to kind of get an assessment of what she could do and maybe help her to be able to do more. Am I saying that the right way?
Absolutely, yep. Think of someone when they have that shoulder pain, like I said, it might be an old rotator cuff injury. We hear that a lot. And you can get physical therapy for that. You should definitely get occupational therapy for that. But that pain, if it remains, for the duration of your life. And so now mom can't reach to that microwave. What do you do? And so it's, occupational therapists go and find out what all the limitations are. She can't reach ahead and, get that microwave open, because that requires the strength. It requires her to be able to have that flexibility. What about pushing a car door open, pulling the patio door, things like that. And that's where all that shoulder pain comes in. So yes, the activities are not just your showering, bathing, toileting, all of that. It's the smallest things, pushing the buttons on your remote control to be able to open doors, jars, everything in between.
As you're talking about this, I almost would subtitle this, and you could correct me if I'm wrong about this, but to me, it feels like these are the things that maybe you or I might take for granted, but they would become very important if you weren't able to do some of these things that really are part of your daily routine.
Yep, it really is. We do take things for granted. I'll give you an example. When I fell and I had broken my foot, there were a lot of things that I wasn't able to do that I took for granted. Just being able to put my shoe on was really hard. Now I had functioning hands, but you still need the dexterity in your toes, so to speak, to be able to push and get your foot in there. But if people don't have that strength or the coordination to do some of the smallest things, it really makes you think. And again, occupational therapists are important with that, because not only do they help you figure that out, how to continue doing those things, but if there's adaptive equipment that they may need, we help them provide that and train them on that. I always tell people, have a shoehorn. I give a lot of shoehorns out, because that's one of the most difficult things when, getting dressed, you're getting that shoe on. And normally when you think about putting that shoe on, you would think, well, what's so difficult? What's so hard about that? But we have to push our foot in. And sometimes we use our fingers to get the shoe, the ankle part up. People can't do that. If you have arthritis, if you've got rheumatoid arthritis, there's a lot of pain involved. So something as simple as that can help and make it easy, and then you can get your shoes on and you're independent. But it's little things that we don't think about. And what do we do? How do we fix that? So you call an occupational therapist.
Yeah. What I love about what you guys do as Coastal Occupational Therapy, I was asking you before we began the TV program, I said, I know you're licensed Coastal as an occupational therapist, but I said, in your firm, you guys also work with physical therapists, speech therapists, so you're able to provide whatever help that's needed. But in particular, I was going to comment on, you guys have this hashtag that you use in your promotion, whether it's on the website or social media, and you say hashtag keep life moving.
That's right.
And I kind of gathered that because I remember somebody saying that in my mother's case, where they were like, it's kind of like move it or lose it. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's move it. You use it or lose it, actually. Use it or lose it. you don't use your muscles, you're going to start atrophying. You're going to start getting weaker. And then, you know, a lot of times people will say, I was in the hospital for X number of weeks, and now I just can't move.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. And it's because your muscles start atrophying over time. You start losing your muscle mass, you know, your weakness sets in, and you can't get up. And then plus, when you're in situations like that, we're in the hospital, they don't allow you to get out of bed, right? You have the alarms going off when you try to. So you are restricted, even though you are getting therapy in the hospitals. But yes, even at home, you know, people get complacent, especially during COVID. And people were just at home, not being able to get out. And so lack of exercise, lack of movement, if you're not going to use your muscles, you're going to get weak over time, and that will affect your balance. That will affect your ability to do things around the house. You know, again, if you don't have the leg strength or arm strength, it's hard for you to sit down on that toilet and stand back up, or same thing, get in the shower and get back out, you know, so that overall strengthening is very important. And like you said, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
You know, one of the things, too, that I kind of gather is there's a lot of hope in occupational therapy, right? Because what you're trying to do, if I'm saying this right, is really two things, right? You're trying to maintain what you have that's working and make sure you're going to be able to rely on it going forward. But at the same time, if you're impaired, impinged in some way where you can't do something, then you're there to help work on that specific issue to help them find a solution that's going to maybe make that possible for them to either make those motions or do that activity. Am I saying that right?
Yep, that's right. And again, that's what occupational therapy is about. It's when we go in to do an evaluation for occupational therapy, and I'm going to go back a little bit because you said we do use our other counterparts, our other colleagues, PT and you know, physical and speech therapy. So in Brevard County, you know, we've got a lot of resources, and there's groups, providers that do just what I do. They're physical therapists and speech therapists that come to the house and provide the therapy services. So we're all, you know, working with each other, because if I see there's a speech therapy need, I'm always calling on my speech therapy friends and saying, you know, can you help this client out? Because our goal is, you know, we provide that holistic approach. We're looking at you not just from an OT's point of view, and this is what I think you'll need for an OT, but what about your swallowing? Maybe, you know, you have more difficulty swallowing. Let's get a speech therapy involved. You know, there's an imbalance in how you walk because of your hip, you know, in positioning. Let's call a physical therapist. So we do get all our colleagues involved when we try to do, you know, the best care for our clients. But like you said, for occupational therapy, when we do go into the evaluations, we're looking at not just what you can't do, what you used to be able to do, but what you want to do. Yeah. You know, as we're aging, our goals change, our abilities change. You know, we may be moving from one house to another. Our locations change, our environment is changing. And so now you have a whole new set of activities that you have access to. And so we kind of look at now, today, your current environment that you're in and where you're going to be, where you want to be. If you want to stay at home, age in place, you know, that's why I keep life moving. If you're going to age in place, let's work with your house environment. Let's work everywhere in that community and make sure that you're still able to do all those things.
You know, I was recently trading emails with somebody who was kind of complaining that now that they were in their 60s, they couldn't do everything they could do that they were in their 20s. And so, not being an expert, I was just kind of like almost flippantly, but seriously, at the same time, kind of answering back like, well, I think that is part of as we get more years, we learn how, okay, we can't necessarily do the things that we could do when we were 20, but it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy doing the things at our current age, as long as we know how to make those safe adjustments. And I wanted to bring into this conversation, because I saw you recently do a seminar here at Joe's Senior Resource Center, and your focus was on, I think we titled it, No Broken Bones About It, because the idea that you were really wanting to impart to the folks that were here was, we want to keep you safe from falls, so that there are ways that you can assess where you are now,
right?
Learn what might be possible challenges to you so that you can work on those and therefore stay safe from falls as you continue to age.
Absolutely. You know, when the goal is that we don't want to fall, obviously. But then if you fall, what do you do? Right? But then we kind of take a step back when we do evaluations, or when we assess someone that is falling a lot, and we get those phone calls, right? And so they'll say, well, mom's been falling. Can you help out? Can you do occupational therapy, work on, balance, fall prevention and all of that? So we do a home assessment. We do go into the house and we check the house. And it's not just simple as rugs or lighting or anything like that. Sometimes they have stairs and there's no railings. Or if there's railings, there's no non-slip cover on the stairs. Sometimes it's pets. We have, and I talked about it in the presentation as well, it's pets. And, I'm not saying to get rid of pets. I love dogs and cats sometimes, but, you have smaller animals around the house and they're walking around and you may trip over that. I've gotten calls and we've treated people for therapy because of that, because they've fallen, because they've tripped over their cat or their dog. So the home environment assessment consists of all of that. We're looking at the walls and the floors and your entrance to the house and the exits to the house and all of that. And we recommend the home environment adaptations. And then also, what is it? What's happening? Why are you falling? Yeah. Is it dizziness? Do you have neuropathy? Are you not able to feel your feet on the ground, or is there pain associated to that? And we need to figure out why the falls are happening.
Yeah.
So we do train people on balance. We do exercises, a lot of postural awareness type of techniques to help people understand how to stand, how to sit, how to bend down and pick things up, because a lot of times we're not bending the right way and we come up and we lose our balance. So we're training them in all those different techniques while improving their balance. And then we also train them on, if you did fall, how do you get up? If you can, how do we get up? And that's one of the biggest things, because people can't get up. And if they try to in the wrong way, then they're going to injure themselves further. So we do a whole training on how not to fall, and then how to get up from a fall. And then also there are ways where you can create muscle memory on how to fall. Oh. I know in the middle of a fall, you're not going to stop and think, well, I should place my hand or my leg this way. But with enough training, you can create muscle memory and automatically take out that left or that right hand, or position ourselves in a different way as we're falling to grab ourselves. I'll give you a really short story. A few weeks ago, I fell, and I was on vacation. And as I was falling, I knew I was falling, and I was on a scooter, and I kind of threw that scooter away, and I held myself upright. As I'm falling, I had the wherewithal to understand that if I took a few extra steps, maybe I won't fall flat. I can keep going and then fall on my shoulder, or, something. It just, again, and that's because I do enough of that training. But you can do that. Even if you're 60, 70, 80, 90, we work with you on that. And of course, there's precautions we have to follow. It's not appropriate for everyone, but we can at least teach you the methods.
Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to really make sure that we talked about here, a lot of times when you talk about occupational therapy or physical therapy or speech therapy, you're usually going to like a gym or an inpatient facility or something like that, where they're set up in some way to work with you. So it involves you having to get in a car, find somebody who's going to ride you over there and be able to make all that possible, because it's certainly valuable to do. But one of the things that I love about what I know about what you do with Coastal Occupational Therapy is you go to where the folks are.
Yeah.
And so whether they are in assisted living or whether they're living in their own home doesn't really affect the ability, because you're able to come there. And maybe in some respects, I'm going to make an argument, and you could tell me if it's right or wrong, that it may be more preferable, because as an occupational therapist, when you see somebody on their home turf, it lets you see how they really are operating. Whereas if you're in, somebody else's kitchen, somebody else's gymnasium, you're probably a little bit more aware. But where if you're at home, you're at home, and that probably helps you keep people safe for longer, I think.
Absolutely. I started the practice just for that reason, is that in occupational therapy, we do believe very much on integrating the person, the environment, and their occupations that they do. And so I think it's incredibly beneficial to do the therapy at home, because like you said, we are in their turf, we're on, inside their house, we're evaluating them, and we're seeing them function within their own home, in and out of their own bed, going through their own cabinets, things like that. So we're able to just use your home environment in its entirety to figure out what's going on. And like you said, you'll be surprised what all the things that you notice when, being home versus evaluating at a clinic. A lot of times, when I'm there and I'll be walking on and I notice the car. And so I'm like, oh, well, are you driving? And so they'll say yes. And then it makes me want to think that, well, you said that you have a hard time getting up from a normal chair. How are you getting in and out of your car? Right. You're having all this pain in your shoulder. How are you opening the door? So now you get to think of all those other questions. And again, because you're taking the holistic approach, everything about that client, not just what's written on that paper for the referral, we're looking at everything and addressing all the limitations as much as possible. So if that person came into the clinic, maybe I wouldn't have thought about, their car. Maybe I wouldn't have known that their cabinets are so high. I don't know that. And so, again, there's benefits to doing that. And again, what we do in Brevard County, providing the mobile therapy service, is that we are able to go to their homes. We go to their homes, assisted or independent living facilities, and we do treat them there. We do a one-on-one session, just you and I, for the full hour. And then we get the freedom to utilize their environment. And they're a lot more comfortable. If the community has a gym, we'll go to the gym if we can utilize that. But we've also taken people out on their golf course if they have a little, golf course outside or even in their backyard. Yeah. They like to walk their dog. So again, home environment is very important in making that person independent because, again, that's meaningful. The place is meaningful and the occupations are meaningful.
And again, what you're saying is that by helping people, there's an expression, all life is lived really at home. And so that really makes all the sense in the world that you're able to go where somebody is and help them make the most of their own particular environment. Or even if you see something that's obviously a challenge, then, you guys can talk it over and say, this might be better if we did it this way or whatever. So one of the things that I thought was unique, because I remember when we were talking about this, a lot of times I know my own first introduction to physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy was in connection with my mother's release from hospital many years ago. And they had her go to a rehab center, but then they wanted her to come home and continue this course. So I know probably for a lot of us, that may be how we get introduced to it. But I remember talking with you, you said that oftentimes if the need is there, they can call you directly for an assessment. Sure. And then you will make the determination and you will work with the doctor to make sure that whatever authorizations and such are needed. So what I didn't understand was that you, as the potential person who wants to get the benefit of occupational therapy, can start the process on your own just by calling you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, there's the misconception that therapy is only needed when something happens. Right. That's not true, right? But that's what usually happens. You end up falling, you end up going to the hospital, and then you're prescribed the therapy, and that's what people usually think that's when you can get the therapy. It's not the only time. So, like we said, if you're at home and kids are worried about your mom or dad not functioning well at home, you can call and just say, hey, can we get occupational therapy? This is what's happening at home. And so what we do is we get information. We obviously have consent forms and everything, but we do get information to contact the doctor and get a referral. So we do get a doctor's referral, and then we can start the therapy. So we can do the evaluation and then start therapy right after that. But you can call. You don't have to have something happen to you. Yeah. You can just call and say, hey, I haven't been doing well. My balance has been off. I'm not walking well. I can't make my meals anymore, and I need therapy. And then we take care of the rest. We call the doctor and make sure we get the referral. We get them updated as to what's going on. And also lets the doctor know, too, hey, this is something new. This is something new that's happening with your patient.
Well, we've talked about this so many times that we really, the expression is it takes a village to raise a child, but it really takes all of us. And don't be afraid to call in a team to make things happen. But that's the point that I thought was so empowering, is that you don't necessarily have to go directly to the doctor and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. You can just call you directly, have you get an evaluation together, And then if it is something that's going to make sense, your company is willing to help put together all the steps to make that possible. How do people get in touch with Coastal Occupational Therapy?
Very easy. You can just give us a call at 321-361-8040. I'm usually one picking up the phone calls, or my office admin will. We will walk you through all the steps. We get all your information. We listen to you, what's going on. And then if we're able to help you, we definitely will. And on the off chance that we may not be able to help you, we would do, refer you down to the physical therapist if that's what's needed, or a speech therapist, or anyone in the community, because we have great resources. But you just have to call us.
Jital Patel with Coastal Occupational Therapy. And by the way, there's a whole other side of what Jital does. She has a program called Drivability, which is all about keeping seniors safe behind the wheel. And that's a program that we probably have to do on our own. But if you go to your website,
coastaltherapyfl.com. I had a blank space. It's coastaltherapyfl for Florida.com.
Yeah, because you have information about that program. You have information about all the home services you do. And it's really a good place to start. I always encourage people, like, as you're trying to navigate all this, information is knowledge. Knowledge is power when you're looking at all these things. And the worst thing you can do is to not pay attention to this. And again, what we're talking about is all those resources are free for you to study out. Even the evaluation is at no charge. And then you're going to help them determine the best steps to take, what makes the most sense given what you're seeing.
Right. We usually do, for the driving evaluations, we definitely do a screen first. We talk over everything. We do a screen to make sure you're appropriate for that type of a service. Same for therapy. Sometimes people call and, they'll say they need the therapy, but we do a screening. We do a questionnaire to make sure that you're appropriate for my service. We're appropriate for the OT. And if not, are you appropriate for physical therapy? So we do screens, and then referral process happens with your doctor, and then we do an evaluation once we get the referral, and then you go from there. Then you start your therapy services.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Jital Patel from Coastal Occupational Therapy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Kerry.
And thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next chapter of Helping Seniors TV.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses, and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.